It was the day as usual for me when a friend of mine called me up and said, Shirish, we need to meet. When probe further, I could understand that there is something that is going from bad to worst in the relationship between he and his wife. He said that they knew that I am a good counselor, but they decided not to disclose it to me till they reach a particular point. Now they think that they have reached that point because they have tried everything. All the adjustments, all the counseling interventions, they have tried it all. Nothing is working. Now this is a common story nowadays, and it to some extent is about some extremities we reach into relationship, but otherwise also my experience tells me that even in all the fields that we work, relationship is the biggest influencer, whether it is corporate field, whether it is personal, whether it is family, whatever. The relationship between a boss and his subordinate, the relationship between peers and colleagues, they affect the performance to such an extent that almost 80% of work is occupied by this factor, and then it suffers. In spite of everything being in place, in spite of having the competence, having the good infrastructure, still the work suffers. There is this issue of relationship between the adolescent kids and their parents. There is a huge gap. They don't understand. In fact, parents feel that the kids are not in their control, and they are kind of anxious about what they could do. Now, all these aspects I have understood, I have experienced, I have gone through this, I have worked with so many people to resolve the issue. In fact, I myself have gone through so many relationship ups and downs, and all along, after spending so many hours, after spending so much of effort, so much of money, even lakhs of money, to learn what are the ways out of this, eventually I could stumble upon a very powerful formula, a 3-step process, which is actually the real strategy, the real solution to this aspect of our life. And this is exactly what I'm going to share with you today in this session, step by step. But then before that, let me also take you through the journey which took me to this formula. See, while we decide to work on the relationship issues, we do 3 mistakes typically. The first one, whenever it is the relationship, we naturally assume it as something to do between the two people. But you may be shocked to know that it is not the truth. It is always about one person, one and only one person, and that person is you. Okay? It is only you. Whatever you may feel, it is always you. Just think of this scenario. You are driving a car in a traffic. Situation is that you have lent out money to somebody. He is not returning it back, and today you have decided to claim it back. You are on the way, but you are fuming about that person, anxious, angry, irritated, and suddenly something happens that somebody comes in front of your car, and you have to hurriedly apply the brakes, and you are frightened that something worse might have happened. But then after some time, after a few seconds, you realize that nothing bad has happened. Then you come out of your car, and then what is the way that you react to that situation, and especially that person? Just make a note of it. Now look at the situation or the scenario in a little different way, with a little tweak in the situation. You are again in the car traveling on the road in the traffic, but this time you are going out to meet your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever the case may be. You are now in a happy mood. You are singing a song. Okay, you are all rosy. You are feeling good. And then suddenly somebody comes in front of your car, hurriedly apply the brakes, and you are frightened that something worse might have happened. But then you realize after a few seconds that nothing has happened, everything is fine. Then you come out of your car, and then in that moment, what would be your way of relating to that situation? Make a note of that. And then compare these 2 notes. And I'm very sure that both the notes will differ in terms of the outcomes. And what has changed is not much on the outside, but the internal state of being that you were in both the times. So if you work on the internal state of your being, the external state of affairs would be taken care of. The second part, once you understand that you have to work on yourself, then of course it comes obviously that you have to know what you are. What is it to be worked upon? We assume, we think that we know what we are, but generally we are not. What we think as we are generally a set of assumptions, some imageries that we have acquired, but there is no clarity. Now, to bring a little bit of more clarity, what I can do is I can present you a very simple model of what I think that we are. So we are made up of three interdependent entities or components. One is body, second is mind, and the third is energy. We'll talk one by one about each of them, but essentially body, though it definitely involves the biological aspects, but I mainly would like to associate that with the behavior, because that's the physical expression of whatever we are. The second is mind, and I would club the thought as well as emotions, perceptions, everything together as mind, right? And the third is the energy. When you feel low, when you feel high, when you feel vibrant, when you feel excited, all these are the energy states. Now, here is the second mistake that generally people make. They work upon, in order to improve whatever, say relationship in this case, they mainly work upon the behavior, try to change the behavior, okay? Try to change the approaches, or they work upon the mindset, the attitude, right? The habits. So all the rationalizations, all the therapies work around these two factors mainly. But let me tell you that why I call this as a mistake, mainly because the most predominant part of our being is energy. And when I say that feeling low, feeling high are energy states, the energy is much more than that. It is much more powerful than that, much more subtler, and much more omnipresent than that. I cannot go into the details of the research that is being done on this, but let me tell you, the modern science calls them as the morphic fields. Morph means shape. So these are the fields which shape us. And to tell you a small thing, these are the fields which are present even before you are born, even when you are in your mother's womb, in the form of a little meatball after the conception. What shape you would gain out of this meatball is dictated by, driven by, governed by this energy field, which is called as morphic field. And then there are so many other properties of this field. But the point that I'm trying to drive is that this is the field which forms our mind, which forms our body, which shapes our mind, which shapes our body. If that is the fact, then why not work mainly on the energy? Instead of working on mind, instead of working on verbose, instead of working on mindset changing, behavior changing, let's work on energy, and let's avoid this second mistake. The third mistake, and exactly that's what I'm going to tell you in this session, how to work on this energy. Okay. The third mistake that comes up, there are some people who know that we have to work on our energy, but then the mistake that happens is they bring in a lot of complexity in working on energy. They bring in a lot of protocols, a lot of rituals, okay, a lot of decorations, as I call it, a lot of showmanship. Everything gets involved into that. That makes the things worst, because for all these things to be followed, what is involved more is your mind. It gets exhausted in following those protocols. So instead of working on very complex protocols, why not have a very simple protocol which could be practiced every day for very small bit of time? That's what I have evolved, and that's what I'm going to share with you. This is the most powerful, the fastest, simplest protocol, which is much more practicable to you. But before I share that formula to you, let me also take you through its evolution, the way it got evolved. Let me help you to imagine that you are just like an musical instrument. Now, if you want to hear a very good music out of it, what are the prerequisites for that? First, you should learn that instrument. You should be familiar with that instrument. Second, you should have that instrument tuned. Otherwise, the notes which are created, if they are not in harmony with each other, then the music produced will be not of the good quality. The third thing is, you should have the skill to play that instrument. When we say that we have to work on ourselves as an instrument, then we have to work on these three aspects. That is learning ourselves, tuning ourselves, and building the skill through the practice. Now, as far as the learning is concerned, that's what I also call as trying to learn to relate to ourselves. What is the way? The way or the approach is to enter into a mode what I call as the observation. The way of awareness. We have to be aware of we as our instrument. So with this awareness, we start observing our body, our mind, and our energy field or our energy sensation. So something happens outside, just watch and observe. What is the way your body reacts to that? Just observe what is the way your mind reacts to that. What are the emotions? Just imagine the way it changes your energy mood to low to high, vibrant, whatever. What is the impact? Just watch and observe. The more you observe, the more you sense, the more you become aware, the more familiar you become with your instrument. The more you learn about your instrument, the more you know their patterns. Now you are ready to take the next step, that is to tune. Now, what is the tuning? Here exactly I will be giving you the exact protocol of the process, and this is what is the key protocol. This is what is the key practice that you are going to get into. Okay, so we'll do it right now so that you will understand what this tuning means. Close your eyes, because closing the eyes will cut off almost 50% of your distractions, and your mind and all systems will become more stable. Then take deep breaths. Okay, take in and out. Since this breathing, at least for 3 times, will stabilize your system more. With this stability in place, then what you have to do is visualize. Visualize a bright light, white light at the top of your head. Feel it. Feeling is very important. That's the key. You have to feel this light, and then you have to see that it is descending down through your head, through your body, all throughout your being into the ground. This feeling is very important. You have to feel the vibrations. You have to feel that journey, that travel of this light throughout your body. And not only body. By this time you are familiar with all your parts, all your components and entities, all your patterns. You see that light is touching those emotions, bathing those emotions, bathing those energy states. Okay, it is vibrating all your components. And if you are finding it a little difficult without any movement, then use your hands. Your palms are more sensitive, your fingertips are more sensitive. Use them like this and then move them, and along with them feel that the light is also moving. Then next pass, change the color of the light to purple. Again same thing, it is percolating through, it is passing through the whole being that you are into the ground. It is cleansing you, it is bathing you, and all your components are getting bathed into that light. That's all. What has happened? That with these colors intended by you, visualized by you, you have created a certain stable frequency inside you. And then all the 3 components of yours, they try to get in resonance with this frequency, and hence in turn they get aligned and tuned to each other. That's what is the tuning. This is the second step. And the third step is to being skillful about it. And what makes you skillful? Practice. So you have to just practice, practice and practice the same protocol. The more you practice, the more you become a skillful player. And that's all. This is what is the master formula. This is what is the secret 3-step formula, which we can call as LTP. Learn, tune and practice. And then you are working on yourself, right? Nobody else. But now, as we end this session, let me also give you one more bonus, okay, which will do the magic, which nobody else will tell you. And if you want to have such kind of magical formulas hereafter also, then just subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, comment if you want, share your experiences on this channel. And now the magic formula. What you do is, whatever you have done, and this is the trick, okay, whatever you have done on yourself, you have to do it on your partner with whom you want to improve the relationship. And not physically, but you have to involve the other person virtually. Just imagine, close your eyes, imagine that he's standing in front of you. He is there in front of you. Feel him as an instrument. See all the three parts that he's made up of, especially the energy part. Now you'll understand that he's also having that energy of formation, same way as you have. Then visualize that he is also bathing under, now this time only one color, that is the purple color. He is bathing under that purple color. All his three components are bathing under purple color. And then his instrument is also getting tuned. So with this, what happens is, just like two instruments standing in two corners of a room, if one is played, the other starts resonating. The same thing will happen here. With this practice, at least for 5 minutes every day for next 5 days, you will find the difference in everything that you are. You will be more composed. You will have less dependencies on yourself as well as with others. You will have less demands with yourselves as well as with others, and you will find a drastic difference in your relationships. Just try this.